Hey, welcome back to the Too Fast channel. In today's unboxing and tabletop review, we're going to look at a automotive backup camera made by a company called DoHonest. This is their model P31. This is listed as being night vision compatible. It is a HD camera, high definition camera. I'm not sure if it's a 720 or a 1080p. Let's assume it's a 720p camera. The screen size of this camera is 0.33 of an inch. It has a pretty wide angle of view at 170 degrees. It's a solid metal construction. It is IP69 waterproof. The image of this camera can be mirrored. In other words, it can be flip-flopped by cutting a wire. The parking guidelines, which it comes with, can be enabled or disabled. And the horizontal mounting or vertical, or the mounting position of the camera can be switched also by cutting a looped cable. So you can change the orientation of the camera. If you mount it up by where your license plate lights are, that's the default. But if you mounted it down underneath your license plate, then you could cut this wire and it would rotate the image and it would give you a proper view of what's going on behind your vehicle. So it has some flexibility for mounting. It does have a 3-year warranty. Now I bought this off of Amazon. Amazon lists it for $39.99. Right now it has a $28 discount coupon, which brings the price down to $12 shipped if you're an Amazon Prime member. I bought this because somebody posted it in a Volkswagen Facebook group, and went over and checked it out. It looked pretty decent, and the coupon brought the price down to a real reasonable level. Whether or not I can fit this on my Volkswagen, that remains to be seen. I haven't got to that point yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to unbox this and take a look at what's in the box, take a look at the user manual, and hopefully I'll transition over to my workbench and I'll try to hook this up and kind of see what the image looks like. All right, so let's get moving here. This is the box that it ships in, made in China. Nothing really much to talk about with the box. So the user manual, I did look at this. I did take it all out and look at it and see what the camera looks like. The user manual is pretty good. It's got color pictures. Who doesn't like color pictures? And there's a QR code over here that you can scan, which takes you to a YouTube video. There's also the link right there for the YouTube video to help you install it. So looks pretty good. Comes with a good amount of cabling. Pretty much everything I think you would need for installation. The right here is the section I mentioned earlier about you've got these little cable loops that you can cut. Like if you cut the green one, it will disable these parking lines. Now these are fixed parking lines. They don't really move. So if you don't want those, you can cut that cable and it will turn them off. The orientation of the camera, like I mentioned, the default is mounting it up above your license plate, but you can also mount it below your license plate and cut the purple cable, and that will rotate the image. And this also allows you to mirror the image if you want to change the image orientation. So the instructions are pretty good. From what I found, looking over these, instruction manual is good. It comes with a 23.5 foot signal cable to run from the camera up to your head unit. Now, this also has a integrated power cable. So let's say, for instance, you have an aftermarket head unit and it has a dedicated turn-on lead for the camera that would power the camera when you put your vehicle in reverse. You could then hook up, when you run this cable, you hook up one end to that wire and the other end of the wire you hook up to the camera. That way, when you put your car in reverse, the camera comes on. So this is a convenience that which allows you to only have to run one wire for power and signal. So that's nice. The other power cable here has a power and a ground. So if you did connect this to your head unit, you would connect these together, and then this would be grounded someplace. If your head unit did not have that type of power facility built into it, you could use this cable and run the red section of this over to your backup light. So that's another source of 12-volt power. When you put your car in reverse, your backup lights come on. If you get access to your backup light bulb using a voltometer, find out which wire gets power when your car is in reverse, and you can connect this to that wire. That way, when you put your car in reverse, the camera would come on, and then this one would be grounded. So you've got two different options depending upon what you have available from your head unit. Now this connects to this smaller cable right here. So this would plug in like so for your power and ground, and then this would be for your video. And then the smaller plug, this 4-pin plug, would plug into the camera. Also included are a couple of inline splices for you to tap into power and ground somewhere in your vehicle. This is listed as a updated version of this camera, and it comes with these little rubber wedges. We'll talk about that shortly. And we've got a nut and some washers. And lastly, the camera. So these are the loops that you would cut to disable or change certain functions as detailed in the user manual. And you can see that this is a rather small camera. It's all metal, it's gloss black, camera lens. There's no IR projectors, at least on the outside of this. Normally, backup cameras that are night vision capable have little IR projectors. This doesn't, so on the workbench, we'll see if I can test that a little bit to see how well this might work in low light conditions. Now, the wedges, so let's say you mounted this in the back of your car. You can see the angle of the camera right here firing this way. That may not give you enough visibility behind your car. So if it doesn't, you've got 3 different sizes of these wedges. Now you could mount a wedge like so, and what that would do is it would tilt the camera up to give you a better view behind your vehicle. So you can see you've got 3 different sizes of those wedges, a really thin one, a medium, and a larger one. So depending upon the view you get behind your car, you may want to use one of these rubber wedges. I think it would make sense to use a rubber wedge, whether you use the thick one or the thin one. I think it's a good idea to use it because it will create more of a watertight seal between the camera and the body of your car. So definitely you should use one of them. And you may have to play around with mounting the camera and then putting in one of the wedges and seeing how the view of the camera changes. So this all metal design, this is threaded, and you would have to put the wedge on and then route the wiring through your hole into the car, and then put your nut and washer over the end of this cable and then route it all the way up. The only thing I'm not exactly sure about is if this is long enough, especially after you put a wedge on it, depending upon if the thick part of the wedge is down here at the bottom or if it's this way. You can see that would eat up a lot of the threads. So I'm thinking if this is mounted this way and the camera firing this way, it's not going to give enough of a view. So I might want to use this to tilt this up. So you can see we would lose a little bit of the mounting depth. So it's hard to say if this is actually long enough. So in my case, this may not be usable. It's really hard to say. I won't know until I actually get to taking apart part of the bumper and seeing if I've got space for it. But that's something for another video. Anyway, that's everything that comes in the box. The size of this camera appears to be nice. The construction appears to be nice. It's a nice glossy black. You've got the DoHonest logo at the top, which is not a big deal. So it's not a huge camera that's going to really stick out. If you can find a spot to put it, drill the hole, get your cabling routed, and have enough threads to get the bolt on. That would be my main concern. So while we're here, before we go over to my workbench, let's take a look at these screws. Now, this particular nut, you probably don't want to lose this. You can see that there's a slot cut in that. And I cut that in there so you don't have to try and feed the nut over this because it will fit. It looks like it will go over it, but having the slot cut in the nut makes it a lot easier because you can get all this cabling routed into your bumper or where your license plate is, that panel, and then just slip the nut on. But you would probably have to put the washer on. The washer should fit over this. Yeah, the washer will fit over that. So that won't be a problem. So that's the nut and the washer. You have a regular washer and a lock washer, and those should be installed together. You'll just have to make sure you have access to the panel behind where this is mounted to get the bolt tightened down. All right, so that's pretty much all the talking points, and that's what's in the box and all the parts. Let's go over to my workbench and see if we can actually test this out. Okay, so I've transitioned over to my workbench. All I have for demonstration with this camera right at the moment is a rear view mirror that has an integrated backup screen. So I've got everything hooked up. I've got the camera hooked up, got the mirror turned on, and the backup camera turned on. So we can, and you can see that we've got an image going on. I'm holding the camera over here. So that is, a little teeny tiny screen. It's like a 3.5-inch screen that's not a very high resolution screen, but you can basically see how the backup lines are, and you can, I'm holding the camera, which is right here. The default orientation, it would appear, is for mounting the camera like this with the lens facing up. If you were to mount this up high, and that's what that looks like. It looks like the orientation's off when we do that. So you might have to play around with that and snip some of those wires to get the orientation is correct. So you can see the backup lines. They are static. They don't change. I'm going to disable those if I install this. So let's see. Let me go ahead and turn off some lights and make this as dark as possible to kind of simulate what it would be like at night, and we'll see if we can actually see anything with the camera. Okay, I've got all of the lights turned off, and we basically can't see anything. So if it's pitch black out, this camera isn't going to pick up anything. If I break out a flashlight and add a little bit of light, so let's assume you're backing up, it's dark out, and your backup lights are on. your backup lights should give you a bit of visibility. So hard to say how well it's actually going to work. There's a view just with a flashlight shining some light on the workbench. So even with just a little bit of light, you kind of can see what's going on. But with no infrared light built into the camera, your view is gonna depend greatly upon how strong your backup lights are, and if there's any other lights around that is illuminating the surroundings. So anyway, that's about all I can test on my workbench. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video review. Hopefully it was helpful if you decide to pick up one of these lights. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.